Tassadar, or whatever. Hi, I am Ziathos Arasdun. As you guys know, Artosis cannot do more than 7 episodes of anything. So here I am with a bunch of fucking Terrans. God damn it, I told my agent I did not want to do this friggin' show. Fine, whatever, okay, let's just get on with it. What do you guys think about hellbats? You guys like them hellbats? What? You like them little hellbats? Want a little bit of a hellbat drop? A little bit of a droppy drop? Shit, sorry. Can you guys hear me? Is there something wrong with my webcam? Hello? I think there's something wrong with my webcam. Fuck. Hello?
Alright, well, I decided to go ahead and do more than 7 episodes, not because I wanted to, but just to spite In Control for being such a dummy. Welcome to Meta. This is episode number 8. Of course, that lovely intro, as always, created by Simpatico. That guy is so funny. Oh my god. Big cheers to him. You can follow him on Twitter, Simpatico TV. But let's go ahead and talk about the show today. It is a very Terran special episode, just full of Terrans. And with me on this episode, we have, of course, Theognis. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well, man. I always just love watching whatever intro Simon has planned for the thing, so I'm just full of smiles. And then, of course, we have Select. Select, how are you, buddy? You just came back to StarCraft. How's it treating you?
Good. How about you? A lot of fans welcome me, so I'm really happy continuing StarCraft 2 again.
That's good. I'm glad you came back to the much harder and better game. And then, of course, Illusion. How are you doing, buddy? I haven't talked to you in a long time.
I'm doing well, practicing for WCS, but that's about it.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get right into it. We do have... This is going to be like just a Terran-based episode, guys. We did the Zerg roundtable before. This is going to be basically the same thing, but with Terran. So let's go ahead and start. First off, the situation report was just released by Blizzard. I'll go ahead and link everyone in the chat in case you guys haven't seen it yet. And I'll link you guys here too. So in the situation report, just a couple things were really mentioned. For instance, the Warp Prism speed buff is probably going to go live, and I think that's obviously the biggest thing. Everything else, they're like, well, we're not really looking at changing anything else in this situation report, at least. So as far as the Warp Prism speed buff, I've talked about this with a lot of people. How do you guys think it's going to affect your matchup, Terran versus Protoss? Because I feel like that's where the game is really going to change, is against Terran.
Oh wow, yeah, I think it's gonna change a lot because when you have 2 Medevac guys, they can at the same time they can do a Warp Prism harass with their Colossus. So how do I counter that? I load up Marines on my Medevac, 2 Medevac, and then I boost my Medevac, and then drop like right below a Warp Prism. That's how I counter the Warp Prism Colossus drop. But when they get speed, I don't know if I can do that. It's gonna get harder to counter that. And a lot of Protoss will use that Colossus Warp Prism, dropping harassing.
Yeah, that was my number one thing that I was thinking as soon as I saw this, that like the robo openings, you know, when you get that one Colossus or more Colossus if you want, I was like, well, you know what, I'm going to get a Warp Prism after that first Colossus because I can get home to defend anyways. So
yeah,
I feel like that's going to be pretty good. What do you guys think, Theognis and Illusion?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really strong. You know, not only that, but, you know, there's some timings where once you move out with your first 2 Medevacs, like at the 10-minute mark, they could just come in, like, backstab you with the Warp Prism. And that could just really slow you down, if not, like, win the game straight out. Because they could just defend back at home. So it kind of puts you in this weird situation. And then, also, you know, you'll just get harassed nonstop, even in the mid game and late game. And for the most part, I don't even think it's way faster than a Viking, right? So they could just run away. So
well,
you're never going to catch it.
Yeah. I can't imagine you killing off the Warp Prism with this many hit points when it has speed with, like, an early Viking. I would love for you to get some early Vikings, by the way, when you have 2 Medevacs. That'd be great. If you start making Vikings right then.
I
Fantastic.
think
Yeah,
you'll
just
have
open
to with this patch if it goes down. I'm more worried about the double immortal drops that come early now because I remember at Wings of Liberty there were
Yeah.
some troll builds where you would snipe stim in like 5 seconds, just run out, and
Yeah.
then go in again and like 30
Yeah.
seconds later do it again. I'm more worried about that for Terran, but I'm actually more scared for Zerg. Like, how are they gonna deal with War Prisms at lightning speed? And then
Well-
Immortals for PvP as well. Maybe that'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, the Zergs are definitely complaining about it, too. Do you actually think that the Immortal drops are going to be scarier than, like, Colossus drops or just regular Zealot harassment?
Early game, yeah, because they're not gonna come in with like range, and if it's one base all in, if you hold it off, you win. But they can easily do like some early expansion with an early robo, like people do nowadays, and just go with a 2 immortal chrono boosted with a war prism, and that can defend any marine marauder attack as well before the 8-minute mark, I believe. With the
I
much
feel like it's just different like game plan. If you do immortal drop, it's just they're gonna do some kind of strong 2-base push because they're making immortal with heavy sentry. But if they are doing a Colossus drop, it means like they wanna harass my SCB, which means they're choosing the economic build, like taking faster or tech to High Templar, etc. Yeah. So you just have to think about that, I think. And I'm not sure too if Viking can kill the War Prism. Yeah.
Well, let's say that this went live on the ladder during this show, and you guys all had to go and practice right afterwards. What are the immediate changes you're going to make against Protoss? Because we all know the second that a patch like this goes live, the only thing you guys are going to be fighting against is Warp Prisms. So what do you do to change your game immediately to try to stem the tide of Warp Prisms coming in?
I would play more safely and defensively with my Medevac. I'm not sure if I can go out and harass because that's the timing where War Prism comes. It's gonna be hard for Terran to play against Protoss because it gives them ability to take faster and put Terran, like force Terran in their base. Not really sure.
So your answer select is to stay at home instead of harass? I feel like your ladder points are about to drop. This is-
I think every Terrans will. So
I think I would do more Banshee stuff because if you make a Banshee, you're forcing them to make observers instead of a War Prism right away. So they're not gonna rush. And if they are making a War Prism, they'll probably cancel and make an observer because they don't want to die. If they make the War Prism, anything that comes out of the War Prism can be shot at by a Banshee, so it shouldn't be a problem. If you get Starport there early, you can get a Viking and shoot the War Prism away. Maybe make a Widow Mine like you would versus a Medevac Hellbat drop, like a Widow Mine and turret, or a Widow Mine and Viking, something like that.
yeah, that's probably what I would do. I would probably just open more with Widow Mine drops. Reaper into Widow Mine. Just kind of keep that defensively if I feel like there's Warp Prism out. And then, that will allow you to go harass and deny thirds, hopefully. So.
Yeah, I was going to say I think that Widow Mines might be... That's what I feel like I'd start running into right away on the ladder, is just people having a few more Widow Mines out, maybe using the reactor from the barracks on the factory for like a couple minutes or something like that. But is that actually good enough? Because this is Robotech. Like, I'm going to have to fly an observer over there too. And Immortal and Colossus drops both can snipe Widow Mines very easily.
True. But then you can make the one Viking that can kind of show it off. And usually Terrans already make 2 or 4 Widow Mines just to deal with like any late oracles. At least I do, because I practice with people who use a lot of oracles. So it would just be you'd have to make more or position them better. Because if you put them on the edge of your base, War Prisms can't unload and run away. You're still gonna get hit. So I think just the main problem would be people having to deal with how fast it is now. Like Medevac boost is pretty fast enough, but it's only for a few seconds. War Prism is pretty damn fast.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Protoss needs a buff like this against Terran?
I'm not
Do you
sure.
want to answer?
Yeah, I want to answer. That's why I got
The
3
count of three,
Terrans on the
everyone
show.
said no.
All right, 1, 2, 3. No.
No.
Wow, that was really good, you guys. That was really well timed out. I hope your timing pushes are a little bit more sharp than that.
You practice it.
So, but is this going to, like, unbalance the matchup? Is this enough that it's actually going to become a real problem and need to be re-nerfed against Terran?
I don't think it's going to be mainly a problem for Terran because usually like the meta game like usually pans out so you defend everything and like maybe like the one occasion that you can't defend, but everything else will be defendable. I think it's going to be more of an issue with the other matchups. Like if you had a Zerg or a Protoss on the show, they could give more insight on how they use the War Prism or how they deal with the War Prism. But right now all I see is mutas anyway, so I guess maybe the War Prisms won't be too much of a problem versus Zerg and their siders out. But and I remember seeing Infestors miss every single fungal on the War Prism without speed. So I can't imagine like Hero just walking around killing everyone. It's like, oh, thanks for the War Prism though.
So you actually think it's going to be worse for the other races than against Terran?
I mean, yeah, because right now the problem for Terran about the War Prism isn't how fast it is. It's about the fact when you move out and they come in.
Yeah.
You know, like the speed of the War Prism isn't going to change the fact it's not coming and warping a whole new army in your base as you're fighting the Protoss. That's the issue I have with the War Prism, which is why every Terran makes a turret wall and like a sensor tower just in case for the War Prism.
Okay. What about you guys? Do you agree with that the Warp Prism is not as big an issue for Terran as the other two races? And is this a change that's too much?
Yeah, I agree with Illusion there.
Really? This was not what I was expecting, actually, that you guys thought that Terran was the least affected by this.
I actually think
it's gonna be so annoying at late game. More than the early game.
Huh.
Yeah, they can so easily make.
Theognis, do you agree with these two? Someone's got to be on my side that this is best against Terran. This is crazy talk. I can't believe it.
I think it's going to affect everything. I'm not sure if it'll affect it more or not, but I feel like it's definitely going to drastically affect TVP a lot. Just like kind of what we went over. I don't know to the extent because I've never actually played on the practice server or whatever, so I'm not sure like what builds are out there that can really punish Terran, but. Going back to what you said if you think that Protoss needed it against Terran, actually, other than like innovation, do people kind of think that Protoss is pretty weak against Terran?
It's hard to say. I think it like fluctuates at the different levels, kind of like it did in StarCraft 1, where like maybe at some of the lower levels Protoss is too strong against Terran because it is a bit easier mechanically, but when you get to that top pro level, I don't think we have nearly as many people actually having the opinion that like Protoss is too good against Terran. As far as too weak, I don't think so either, because like I hear a lot of pro Terrans complaining about Protoss, but then you hear that Protoss is doing the same. So I'm not sure actually exactly what that is.
What happens is the Terrans hate the warpers or the warping in mechanic, and the Terrans hate or the Protoss hate the ghost mechanic. That's just what people are complaining about the whole time, because both can sit back, right? Protoss can sit back, macro up a huge army, and try and kill Terran, but Terran can do the same thing. PF everywhere, sensor tower, turrets, like just play really annoying, just sit there, mine out the whole map. So that's why Protoss hates Terran. But I think if they're just complaining about each other turtling, I don't think it's that big of a problem. I think it's pretty okay right now. Like, I still get annoyed when I lose to a whole War Prism army in my base, but if I just made turrets, I wouldn't die to that, Like, it's not a balancing. It's like if I could have stopped it.
Okay. Wow. Not exactly what I was expecting. I guess that actually makes this much more interesting, though. I thought you guys would be like, this is the worst thing ever. We are never going to beat Protoss again. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do hope that patch comes up. I'll have a lot of fun with it.
Our opinions will probably change in a week, so...
we're all probably like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever.
Banging your heads against the tables and whatnot. All right, that's some food for thought. Thank you, you guys. Wow. Let's talk about the WCS Season 1 Finals a little bit. I'm sure you guys watched at least some of it. Kind of interesting. Let's talk first about the finals. Did you guys end up getting to catch a good chunk of the finals? SOS getting 4-0'd by Innovation?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw some of it. I was at a barbecue while watching it.
That's hardcore. How did you guys feel about that? Because, yeah, it was a 4-0, but in my eyes, SOS had an opportunity every single game to get way ahead. Like
Yeah.
he was actually playing really well. What did you think about that overall, everyone?
Yeah, I thought a few of the games he definitely could have won there. Like especially the first one, he defended the Hellbat drops pretty damn well. But some of his decisions I thought were kind of questionable because that game he only made 2 Colossi, but he invested so much into Blink Stalkers
Yeah.
while he was switching into Storm really quick.
Yeah.
And Innovation was just kind of going a really heavy bio Viking Hellbat style, which is really kind of mid game oriented. So I feel like if he maybe focus a little bit more on the Colossi, or
Yeah.
instead of Storm, just go heavy Archon with Colossi, because I think he did that against 4GG, who was kind of doing something similar, the bio
Yeah, that's
Hellbat,
true.
and he pretty much crushed him. So I was kind of surprised he didn't do something similar to that, because he was definitely ahead from the early game, I think.
I
Definitely.
think innovation is like another race. His race is just innovation.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like Sue was kind of nervous that
Yeah.
on the final
yeah.
match. Like, he was so ahead on the second game where he did the Oracle into Stalkers, and he decided to move into Innovation's main base and lost all the Stalkers, and he
Yeah.
gave up all the advantage to Innovation. And he got, like, Innovation got ahead at that point, despite he lost a lot of SCBs. And then, like, yeah, on the other games, Sue built like 2 Templar Archive and 2 Twilight Council. Seemed
Yeah.
like he was
Yeah.
like very nervous going into this, yeah. And also he was losing like 0-2, 0-3, which makes players more like uncomfortable playing. And also Sue played same style 4 games. Like, he didn't make Colossus, he chose to make High Templars. I really wanted to see him make Colossus so I can have more idea learning about the game, how I should deal with Colossus better, because I'm having some trouble. But yeah, I couldn't see it.
He
Yeah,
also
it's-
kept killing his own units, like accidentally. Like A moving,
Yeah,
he would
yeah.
actually click on his units, so like you can tell he was like pretty nerved by losing O2, O3. He was just misclicking too. That makes your head go like on tilt.
Yeah. Well, he definitely, I have to agree with the nervous thing. Like, that game one, like you were saying, Theognis,
Yeah.
the fact that he defended all the drops, had Kansas Mineral Lines, went Blink Stalker, and then switched after 2 Colossus into High Templar. I'm like, this is a guy that this is not how he practices. There's no way that he does this in practice, because he wouldn't be playing in Pro League if that's, the way he's practicing. And then after game 2, that was like the biggest throwaway I've ever seen. You could put those stalkers into my clumsy hands and I would have finished Innovation there. That was not a hard scenario at all. So I think he probably just fell apart. But what did you guys think about the strategy in the last game on Neoplanet S? The Mass Tempest Psystorm take the gold base. What the hell was that? What did you guys think? Have you hit that now that happened?
I think that is really smart to play on that map, because there's a lot of big, what do you call, uphill, where you cannot hit with your ground army. And he was abusing that, and he was taking gold base. Yeah, and yeah, the play style is really smart. But at some point where Innovation didn't have any economy, Sue had like a lot of minerals to harass Innovation not to get any base. But yeah, again, it feels like he was nervous. But yeah, that like strategy is really smart. I wonder
I've
if
seen
he's
people
gonna do
do
the
it.
same thing on the other map as well.
Was
You
Daybreak
saw-
played in the series?
No, I
think
don't
so.
think they got to Daybreak, no.
It's a pretty good split map situational type of composition as well. You'll see a lot of it done in. Actually, if you actually watch Mana, he does it a lot in PvP versus Colossi Death Balls. And I've seen some Protosses do it versus Terrans as well. I think the most recent time I saw was a long time ago, actually. It was Grubby playing on stream on Daybreak, and he was doing it versus the Terran. It was working really well.
I didn't
Was
catch
that
the
with
end of that game.
Colossus or not? Huh?
It-
The end?
Yeah. At first it's Colossus, and then it goes into Templar, and then
Yeah.
you can just make everything, because you have so
Yeah.
much money.
Well,
How did
Party has used
Innovation
that as
actually?
well.
How did Innovation actually stop it? I didn't catch the ending. Kind of fell asleep there.
He like sniped the Nexuses a few too many times, and then when SOS
Yeah.
was like trying to move out and got in the open ground, that's the only times Innovation was really hitting his army. So like it was like a whittling down basically. Innovation had very little money left at the end. It was like actually really really close.
Yeah, I feel like on maps like what Chris said, Daybreak or maybe even Aklon, that's probably way stronger. Um,
Newkirk as well.
yeah,
Split
Newkirk.
up, which is really good.
Yeah, but I haven't
Newkirk
played
needs to
too
be
much.
removed from map pools, so that's I'm
But
absolutely
they changed it and added the Pro League version, I think, into the ladder pool this season. I think it's
Is
the
it a
Pro
lot
League.
better?
I prefer this one over the one they were using in the European WCS.
Well, the one they were using before was just so.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
don't.
like it.
I don't know how you lose to Terran on that map as a Protoss. That's pretty hard to imagine. But wait. Okay, so the strategy though with the Mass Tempest, I've seen it before with Parting. I felt like this one was a little bit different because he like rushed to it really fast, whereas every time that I've seen it before, it's been like a more regular Protoss composition into the Tempest because you can like break a position and force them to attack into you so easily with them. Is this? Have you guys actually been hitting it much? Because Illusion, you said you've played against it or seen it at least a few times. But is this something that's actually coming up against Terran?
I haven't played versus it recently, but I'm pretty sure there's probably people practicing it. Like I could probably play maybe 10 games with a man tomorrow, and he'd probably do one of the games. But I think the reason why he went for it so quickly was because I think he was behind in that game, wasn't he? And Tempest High Templar is a pretty cost-effective unit composition, and he was taking the gold behind it because he knew he was behind. So he was trying to get ahead by taking 2 risks, and it almost worked, but his gold nexus kept falling down.
I felt like it might have been planned out for that map just because of the way the terrain is. I think Select was saying that earlier, where he can float it in that area, and you even saw that he zoned out the hard-to-defend area that he could have been sniped with cannons against this like really Hellbat heavy composition. So it was like pretty neat, and I felt like the way he played it there was very map specific to that map. But
yeah, I feel like he might have had it like he wanted to take the 4 bases first, then take the gold as the 5th one. But I think he kept losing the 4th nexus. I don't recall the game too well because it was a few days ago, but that's why he took the gold and was trying to rush into it because his whole plan was to get that good army and just don't lose any of the bases and defend everything. Just go do one big attack. But I think he just transitioned into it as a panic attempt. It almost worked too. It was pretty close.
Wait, so if they're rushing into Tempest, how can they hold off all the timings? Like if they like pull SCVs or whatever.
well, he started with Psystorm, which I guess that solves the SCV issue. But when he saw that there was like a decent amount of Hellbats in there, he actually made a lot of cannons. So he had like 3 base charge lot Psystorm cannon, and then went right into Tempest right away. And then he just kind of like tried to use positioning to take that 4th. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a weird way he got into it. It was really kind of surprising, actually. And I think he was trying Oracle harassment at some point too, but it didn't really end up doing much. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Like everything he did in that series kind of got shut down after a while. Even if it did damage, like over time, it was like, nope, that never happened.
But how would you counter that type of strategy? Because I felt like Innovation wasn't sure what to do at any point. Like, he's just like, well, this should work well, and then he gets like all his Vikings stormed, or like his entire army dies. And what are you actually supposed to do against that as Terran?
I actually read the interview and they said that Vikings aren't really the answer to the Tempest. It's better just to go really heavy ground with Ghosts and Medevacs.
Yeah, Ghost, Medevac, Marine. You want to obliterate the ground army and then split Protoss apart so he can't just counterattack. Like, it's kind of like how you want to just kill the death ball and then just roll right through whatever's remaining.
Yeah, you can never kill Tempest with Vikings. The problem is if Protoss make Colossus, if they mix it, then it's a trouble. Because your like ground army doesn't really work against like 6 Colossus with like High Templars. So I wanna play against that. I never played against Tempest yet.
You can also make Ravens and PDD. When I was watching Grubby stream the last time, the Terran was making PDD and Ghosts and Nukes. He was just counter-turtling, like just I'll sit back too. I think you could like try in an air army with full upgrades, but Tempest kind of shit on battle cruisers from what I've experienced. So I
Yeah,
They do. If you go battle
But with
cruisers,
PDD,
you
it's
have to have
actually
a
not
lot
that
of
bad.
PDD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they shoot
Yeah,
so
the parting
slow
versus
and.
Flash.
Hmm.
The parting versus Flash game, he just totally decimated the like 10 BCs really fast. So that's definitely not the answer. I don't think.
Well, if it is, I mean, like, you have to have a lot of PDD because they
Yeah.
get the bonus against massive flyers, which BCs are. And, like, I mean, the BCs wouldn't be too bad because there's no. If you have PDD, I think they'll do really quite well because there's not a lot of good anti-air for Protoss, like, against something like a battlecruiser with high armor, so. Eh.
The thing is, like, they'll usually have a good amount of Tempest, so the PDDs go away pretty quickly because they're shooting from really far range, right? So, like, you'll get off at least 2 or 3 from each Tempest, like 2 or 3 PDD shots off from each Tempest before the Terran can even get close. And the Terran doesn't want to get close, right? He wants to do one big attack. Like, he'll get close then, but he doesn't want to get anywhere near the Protoss army until that fight. So, it's kind of trading energy for auto attacks, but I wouldn't really. I think the best way is still just to do Ghost and roll his ground army and then separate him while he tries to go back and forth, like with Broodlords, separate
Yeah.
or kill the Infestor army with the Link mainly Ultra, and then just counterattack everywhere while the Broodlords are split and they can't do anything about it.
I think I have to agree with that. That sounds about right. The Vikings are not very efficient against them somehow. Yeah. So last little talk about that. Is that something that we are going to see? Is that like the next step in Protoss vs. Terran? Because Protoss vs. Terran doesn't change dramatically, but is this what the like end game composition is going to look more like? Are we going to see, do you guys think, a lot more Tempest mixed in with the Death Ball?
In a big map like Whirlwind, I don't think it's gonna work because Terran can drop like multiple plays and like just
Stem up the
kill
ramp,
them.
kill people. Like,
Yeah, but in like mid-sized map or small map, like on that map, what's the map name?
Neoplanet.
Neoplanet S?
Yeah. Like that kind of map is definitely possible. It's like it's like next level.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think on any split map, this is what I was saying earlier, like split map situation, it'll be good. When you guys are both mining out, it'll come to the ideal situation, and when whoever is more cost effective will win. I think that's when Protoss will start using that.
Yeah, it's definitely map dependent, I would think. But yeah, I think it's definitely stronger than just a Storm Colossus. Definitely mixing that in because then, like we said, it just really deals with the Vikings pretty well. So.
Okay, fair enough. So smaller maps should be mixed in more. Bigger maps, no thank you. Too big of drops. Fair enough. All right, let's jump into the MVP versus Innovation series. It's kind of weird to do the finals first, but I feel like this one is opening a can of worms that may take a lot of the show to talk about. Innovation versus MVP. It was a really interesting series. Really crazy games. First off, I do want to mention the Aklon game. Did you guys all see that? The Aklon game where he went down to 9 SCVs and then won, MVP did, with Mech against Bio?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. What's the deal with that game, guys? He went down to 9 SCVs. I was like, well, MVP can leave the game now if he wants, or keep trying, like, whatever,
Innovation's like, I killed all the SCVs, let me just keep throwing my units at him, and then it's like, oh wait, tanks are so good. And it's like, oh wait, there's Hellbats on top of my Marines, I'm dead. That's what happened. Like,
I think Innovation just kind of got a little too overconfident and thought he could just finish him off a bio tank. Because, he had 5 bases, so he could easily just transition to BCs and, hold it off. But, MVP played pretty well. I'm actually still kind of confused why Innovation on Akalon didn't really open Mech, because I feel like Mech is definitely the strongest on that map.
Yeah, like he showed that he's actually good at Mech on Newkirk, right?
Yeah.
Like he played very solidly, and he actually hit the BC transition like at a perfect time when he realized MVP wasn't going to actually die. Yeah. But why the hell would you choose to go bio on Akalon? Do you guys all go Mech on Akalon first off in TVT? I should probably ask that first.
I'm a hipster. I try not to go Mech on any map. But if I were to play, we're the best of
the real hipsters.
If I were playing to win, I would definitely do Mech. Because Mech is too good on that map. Like there's so many chokes. But if you get an early lead, which I think Innovation did, which is why I think that's why he was like, maybe I can just transition to bio and do a stint timing and win. I guess he pretty much should have won, but I think he just threw it in the end. But I think he had a solid game plan. He just underestimated MVP. I think he still would have won in with proper bio tank play.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I mean, could he always count on getting all those SCVs early on? You know, what if MVP doesn't screw up against that, and then it's a mech versus bio game there? Does Innovation win?
I think he would try and deny the fifth or fourth base, because on the fourth base of Akalon, there's a little ledge next to his Elnok Tower. I think he would try and deny there. Aside from that, I guess he would just lose like he did anyway. So.
Well, okay, so I think we have to start talking about the H word, the Hellbats. There were a lot of Hellbat drops in this series. I'm not going to lie. There was quite a few of them. You may say that they dominated the series. And okay, so I need to hear everything you guys have to say on Hellbats in TVT, but also Game 5, that really interesting counter that MVP did, where he was kiting Hellbats with Hellions, like what he was trying, it almost worked. Like, I think he lost track of how many Medevacs of Hellbats were coming at him, and there was one more than he thought, so he lost all his SCVs. But all right, so just start talking about Hellbats in TVT, and I'll make sure you guys.
Yeah. It does work what he was doing. I do it a lot, but the thing is, what's harder, microing your Hellions against Hellbats as Medevacs all the time, or just dropping 2 Hellbats on top of clumps of Hellions,
That's very true.
Oh shit, I was macroing, I wasn't looking at my Hellions, and now they're all gone, right? It's the same thing with Marines. It's like, oh, I was looking at my base and he dropped 4 Hellbats on top of my army. I guess I lose.
It's pretty good defensively. If they do happen to mess up like a drop or two, you can just go kill them pretty fast because it's a really fast counterattack. I've even seen people, 4GG's done it. I've even seen people with just 2 fat blue flame like Vikings, and that's like an even stronger version of it. So, yeah.
I think everyone here just thinks Hellbat is too good. I don't know.
Well,
what do you think, Select?
It seems like Hellbats are really gay in TVT. But I played a lot of games past 2 weeks, like 10 hours a day, and I'm getting used to it, and I'm actually getting a lot better, and I like it because I have good multitasking, so I can like harass and pull my SCP at the same time, etc. Starting to like it, but I also wonder that I want to change the object. Like, how do you guys deal with watch banning bust that Sorky does? I really wonder.
The bailing bust from Zerg?
The one Sorky does.
Every Terran has lost 2 once in their life within the last month. Tanks, or you get really lucky. I don't know. Like, sometimes I hold up with the Widow Mines, but I think the tank is probably the most safest.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing, just opening tanks if I see any roaches, and then just kind of slowly transition into mines. Get 3 tanks out, add maybe a factory or second factory to kind of get your Widow Mine count up. But it feels really weird if they just don't do that and just open into Midow or something.
Yeah, then I feel fine. It's like, I made a tank that's useless. Maybe that's when mech comes in, where you just start playing mech now.
Yeah.
So, in the past 2 weeks, have you guys basically just been hitting a ton of the Roach Baneling style that we've talked about quite a bit?
Yeah,
pretty much.
A good amount.
Yeah.
But usually I'll win because, like, in the early game or mid game, I'll do some economic damage, or just running in with Hellions, or like one of my drops does a lot of damage. I think with the Roach Sling Bane, I forgot who it was. I think it was on Whirlwind, and I think it was a GSL match, but Terran spawned in the bottom right, Zerg was in the bottom left. Zerg was 3 bases, he lost all his workers to Hellbat drops, and the Terran was going Hellbat Marauder, and he won the game just after losing all his SCVs to Roach Sling Bane Bus. Just because he killed all of Zerg's workers, he was just dropping mules with cost-effective Marauder Hellbat, he just won the game. So that's also a way to win, just Hellbat Marauder, but you need a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
innovation against Roro.
Was it?
Yeah, GSL. That
Yeah.
was a good game.
So
Yeah, I've just been opening up tanks. I don't know what to do if they just open up Muta, because when you do open up tanks, that cuts into your Widowmine count. So you're kind of like in this wishy-washy army where it's like a little bit of everything and not too much of anything. So
so
yeah, you
does
do
that
crush
mean
Roachbane though.
are you like kind of blind countering the strategy? Is that how common it's become that you're just like, well, I'm going to start opening with siege tanks until this blows over?
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of
It's like that. It's more like this siege tank helps me defend a lot of all-ins. But if he doesn't all-in, I'm a little bit behind, but I should be like able to get back in the game with some harass of my own or something. But normally you wouldn't want to make the tank anymore. You want to just get fast double upgrades and third CC and not have anything interrupt. But nowadays they just come in as you're landing your CC, like maybe a minute later, and you have no units because your barracks just got out.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
like, what do you do when you open up with 3 CC into 2 eBay, like Innovation does, and then watch comes? You can
Well, he
cannot
loses,
afford
so-
siege tank.
yeah, he
Oh,
actually does
right.
lose.
He just
So
lost.
it's like $2 loss, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I
you-
guess you can't always win, right? Like, if someone goes 3 hatch before pools, Truex is gonna win, right? It's an all-in. It's kind of like that, except for the mid-game, some all-in that's designed to kill 3 CC and 2 eBay. But I guess you do need to get tanks out somehow, like, I don't know, maybe like 1 reactor Hellion set and then into tanks, or 4 reactor Hellions. I've been doing 4, it works sometimes, but I still feel pretty behind.
Yeah, I've been going 6 and then going to 3 tanks or so. I feel like if you only get 1 tank, it's not enough firepower to kind of gun down the Roachbane. You still lose even if you have 1 tank. But yeah, I feel like I am just kind of blind countering. I don't think there's a build out there that really covers all the bases against everything. So it's kind of this like tactical wheel.
Yeah. It really does seem like that to me the more I think about it, especially with the hidden Roach Warren type of play that we saw
Yeah.
from Sulky against Innovation, where, you do 1 extra creep tumor and for 25 energy, Terran can't scout that you have a Roach Warren. And it's like,
Yeah.
so that means that you kind of have to open with siege tanks, like you're saying, Theognis, because the possibility of that, otherwise you run the chance of dying against the right Roach Bane all-in. But, I mean, how does that affect your early pushes? Do you just bring the siege tanks with you and try to utilize them like, do you now have a siege tank Widowmine-based army?
I've been actually just leaving it back at home just for like counterattacks and stuff. I haven't really got used to. I tried doing that a few times, but it was a little bit too like kind of weird to control, like siege tank Widowmine bio. So I've just been leaving that home. I'm not too sure like how to play it out, so I'm a little bit lost there.
Depending on the map, I've been bringing the siege tanks. Like, if it's on Daybreak, the middle base, you can kind of set up tanks there, like you did in Wings of Liberty. You can just kind of set up the tank there and then Widowmine around it for the mutas if the game gets that long, or if you held up the all-in, there's still making composition. But usually I don't hockey the tanks. I just kind of manually control them and hockey everything else like I would. I'm playing a normal game without siege tanks, except I'm just controlling the siege tanks by themselves. They're pretty useful. I might actually start doing that more as a standard thing. But the thing is, like, making the tanks early on does put you behind. But it's pretty useful when Zerg is trying to bait the Widowmine shots out, and then the tanks shoot at him. It's like, oh, whoops. And you're not going to send 1 Mutilask in to bait the Widowmine out either. So it's definitely not a useless unit, but you definitely want, like, 2 or 3 Widowmines instead of that 1 tank.
Yeah. Well, could this possibly do any of you guys use mech against Zerg at all currently? And could this kind of weird place you're in where you're like, well, if Zerg chooses the right tech path versus me, I'm going to be behind no matter what. Could this lead into the revival of mech in the matchup? Because we've seen it a little bit more at the pro level recently anyways. Is this a possibility?
And you really like mech, huh?
I do like mech. Well, that's the beauty of the Terran race, right? You guys actually do have 2 completely different unit sets that you can go for. Whereas the other races, well, Zerg is kind of wishy-washy on
make
that.
everything, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, you have to
I
make
think
it.
the style of mech I like is the mobile, like a lot of Medevacs, a lot of Hellbats, a lot of tanks. here, 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 here. If you guys watched Strelok, and when he was playing WCS a few months ago, he was doing that a lot versus Zerg. But everyone knows he just goes Hellbat drop. So everyone just kills him before he makes the Hellbats. Like it's not that hard to abuse a Terran that's going Hellbats. It's hard to stop a Terran that you don't know is going Hellbats and he Hellbats you. But yeah, I think mech is doable, but not in the long run. Maybe with a lot of ghosts, ravens, and good Viking control, it's gonna be a lot harder to execute mech than it is to counter mech. I feel as Zerg. But I think
like,
mech is still viable.
Yeah, I feel like mech is only possible on some kind of map, like Newkirk, where you just cross the line and take half of map and take half.
Yeah.
But then you can fight so efficiently with mech units, and then when both players mine all the resources, then you'll win the game because Zerg eventually lose more units resource. It's like good. It's like Dimaga versus MVP. I don't know if you guys saw the match or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good example.
I think with the Swarm hosts now, I think a lot of Zergs are vocal about the Swarm hosts and Vipers, Broodlords. The free units are really good versus mech. I think Viking Raven is actually really good versus anything that counters the heavy sieging style, but I think Zerg has a pretty good option until it gets too late into the game where Terran's sacrificing everything with mass mules, and then he has like 180 army supply with only 20 SCVs and just mass muling. Then I don't think Zerg can win. But I think Zerg's goal is to keep trading to never max with the Terran. Like never let the Terran max and just keep remaxing as a Zerg. But I think on some maps like Newkirk, I think it's better for Terran because it's easy to defend those constant pushes from Zerg, and Zerg can't really do much.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I definitely think it's map dependent. Like Select said, you kind of have to split the map or just do really early damage, and then you can kind of do a push before hive. But yeah, I'm not too big of a fan of NTVZ. I've tried it out like a few times recently, and it didn't go too well. If my opponent played pretty well, so I don't know.
Is it just the mobility factor that's a pain in the ass, or is there something else going on? Is it specifically the Viper? Is it specifically
Blinding
the mobility? It's the Viper
Yeah, I would
mostly.
say Viper.
Blinding Cloud.
Yeah.
That's what gives me the most trouble when I go mech, because then it's like, oh, all your siege things are useless until you unsiege them and move them, and then I'll just Blinding Cloud again. You know?
Yeah, with mech you kind of have to hope to hit before they get Vipers out, or they do
Or
get
middle
Vipers
Viper
out.
count.
Yeah, if they do get Vipers out, then you kind of have to turtle with Viking Raven and just split the map in half. So it's not the funnest way to play TVZ, that's for sure.
So is TVZ in a spot right now? Because it seems like you guys pretty much are like, well, mech is something rarely to be mixed in, and mostly on the maps that we're most sure are the worst maps, like Newkirk. Is TVZ in a spot where we're literally waiting for someone to come up with a build order that's a bit safer but doesn't give up all the greedy stuff that Terran loves to do, like the double eBay, double command center, and all that, but still can somehow live through these attacks?
I got the build.
What is it?
Oh.
Hellion Banshee, man. It's gonna come
Hellion
back.
Banshee.
Wings of Liberty.
Come back,
Wow.
I know it stops all that, but I'm too bored of it. I did it for like 2 years, so.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is true. I
want a
did
Hellbat
everything
drop and
last year.
shit,
I was
so.
the hipster in Wings of Liberty. I never did that build until I realized how good it was when I went to Korea. But
I'm pretty sure it's gonna come back, so.
it's actually a pretty solid option. Now, but the evolution chamber isn't required for spores anymore. But I guess near the end, no one really died to Cloak Banshee anymore because it's like, maybe just make a spore. Like people are gonna
Yeah,
start
it just
doing
kind
that.
of forces them into midow, because if they go infestors, then you just keep pumping out like banshees, and just stops any roach play.
Actually, do any of you guys remember going Hellion Banshee and Wings of Liberty and still dying to that Roachling Baneling bust? Because I've died a lot to that, even while going Hellion Banshee. I think everyone here has. Actually, no, you quit when that era happened, Select.
Yeah, I died a lot too. Like I have good competition against that, right? Banshee and Hellions. You kite Banelings with Hellions and kill Watches with Banshee, but it takes forever to kill Watches with Banshee, and Watches kill all my SCB, and I lose like add-ons on my factory and starport. Now, yeah, that's like it's so painful.
Yeah, it's like I held it off. Let me go counterattack, and there's like, well, I made 20 drones behind this and spores. You're not gonna do shit, dude. It comes with 20 mutas. Like, oh, okay, I lose.
Yeah, and that 2-base speed roach is really good against Helling Banshee just because you don't have too many units.
Mhm.
And like you said, Banshees take forever to kill 20 roaches. So,
Yes, sucks for us.
yeah.
So does that make it more of a deterrent, or is it an actual counter strategy?
I think it's more of it's a safer strategy than 3CC double eBay, and it gets what you want done, but I think in the end you still have to make tanks, or maybe like 3 banshees instead of 2 only.
Yeah.
Or if you get some damage in with the banshees or run them in with some hellions, that push is not going to kill you with just a solid hellion banshee composition. But if you don't get any damage in and they still do that attack, they can just straight up kill, or they can just go Nidus Queen Roach. Like we saw that done all the time. Like it's not that hard to transition from one all into the other as Zerg, because you're still going for lair.
Well, is this actually, because Theognis, you seem really actually serious that this is going to make a comeback. You really do believe
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah,
What do you
'cause
guys, the Select and Illusion, you guys think that too, or
No, not me.
no?
I think even in Wings of Liberty, we always have players that stuck to Hellion Banshee. We had the other players that didn't do it as much. I think it's still going to be the same like that. Like I personally don't like going Hellbats, but some people do. And I think it's just a strategy that everyone can just mix in and it'll be safe. Like it's good to have more than one build order. Like even Innovation has more than just 3CC double eBay.
Yeah.
What was your reasoning, Theognis? You were going to say something until I cut you off there.
Oh, no, yeah, I was just saying that I've been meditating on this topic a while, and that's like the only solution I found that like works against everything. So, yeah.
I actually believe that you've been meditating on this topic
Oh, I
somehow.
have, man. I have so many headaches and shit. So,
That is awesome. So I mean, yeah. Any final thoughts on the current state of TVZ against the Roach Baneling randomness that's coming out of Zerg?
I think the
And
matchup
also-
is fun. That's about it.
Yeah, I
It's
had
fun.
another questions. Like,
Sure.
what do you guys think about the Medevac boost? I think it's really smart, Blizzard, to add a boost on Medevac. Like, why is that? It's like back in Wings of Liberty, where Terran make like tank and Medevac heavy. They are gas units. You don't care about Marine. You can always just remax because Terran, it like have a lot of minerals, right? But then, yeah. So when you fight with Marine, tank, Medevac, Terran can never lose a fight because if you lose a fight, you're gonna lose all your gas units, and it's really hard to like rebuild up your army. But Zerg, they can always like trade like with links and banelings, but they always save their infestor and brute lord, so they can be really cost efficient. And for Protoss, they can always save like Colossus or Templars, Archons. They can always go back, and Terran cannot chase off. So it was kind of bad for Terran that they cannot save their gas unit. But in Heart of Swarm, like because of Medevac boost, like they can save the Medevac, like same as Zerg, where they save Infestor. So I think it's really smart. So that, yeah, I think that's why Terran is better in better than Wings of Liberty.
Wow. That's really interesting. That's the first time I've heard someone refer to the Medevac boost like this, because all the other people I talked to are like, well, look, you can just drop like a crazy person right now, but the actual saving of those units. You guys agree with what he's
Yeah.
saying here?
I think every
Yeah.
Terran does that. Like now, like TVT, if the game comes to Marine Tank versus Marine Tank, it used to be you lose your whole army. Now, if you're caught in a bad position, you can unsiege, load your tanks in the medevac, boost away, and stim your Marines and go home, and you actually took no damage. It's the same situation in TVZ where sometimes your army might get rolled, but you have enough time to save some of your units and boost out of there. Same for Spartus. So yeah, that's obviously a good thing, but I don't think it's like a really big thing in terms of if you're losing the engagement as Terran, usually you're going to lose the game. Like usually, unless it's like you're in a huge lead and like say it's TVZ, it's like six base Terran versus 3 base there, and they clean your army once, then you're probably just gonna win with the remax. But if it's an even game, if a situation like that happens, you're probably behind in supply and you're still going to lose. But there's a better chance for comeback and staying in the game.
You know,
yeah, I would definitely agree. it opens a lot of strategies as well, like the mass bio against Zerg, because Zerg used to just go meta bailing against that, and then just snipe all the Medevacs, and then you couldn't really do anything against that. So you kind of need to go tank Thor to kind of hold that off. But yeah, it's definitely helped a lot more than just drops for sure.
That's actually kind of interesting. Because now I'm thinking about it a little bit more. Because of course, being able to get out of a battle that you shouldn't be in is like one reason why StarCraft is a really good game. But they actually improved that a lot in Heart of the Swarm, because now Hydras with their speed off creep, like they're going to be better at retreating, and then the Mothership Core Protoss, if they overextend with an army, they don't just auto lose; they can always recall back. That's actually kind of neat. I never thought of it in those terms.
Yeah, it's more
Give any
forgiving
other-
for Terran now.
Ah. Yeah, well, it seems like a little bit more forgiving for all
Every-
three races
yeah.
with different, not necessarily with every composition, but even mutalisks are faster now. Like, you can always get away with mutas. And especially
Yeah.
that fucking opening Reaper, you can always get away with him, can't you?
Yes! He's the best unit in the game next to Hellbats. And
Yeah.
Mines. And Widowmines.
Yeah, it also makes the game exciting too, because it's no longer like when we deliver like just the one big battle and then you win the game.
Yeah.
It will prolong the game even longer, and small skirmishes and stuff like that.
It's like, you got good questions. You got any more in there? This was
Not
the
really,
perfect
but-
time to have you on the show while you're still learning Heart of the Swarm.
But I really love this Reaper.
Yeah.
It's so good. He scout everything and get out
Yeah.
and reason
Let-
himself.
Let's talk about that Reaper, because Illusion, are you serious? You think that's the second best unit next to Hellbat?
Third, next to Widowmine.
Oh,
Medevac,
yeah, so
man.
Yeah,
Medevac.
because you can scout. If you make enough, you can just kill Protoss. Like I've made like 1, 3, 5 Reapers, like just like 2 at a time, and then you go in with the first Reaper to scout. You go in with 3. If you micro correctly, you can kill the Stalker and work around the Zealot. And then you come in with 5, and they don't expect it. Some people send the Mothership Core to scout your base, and then you
Yeah.
walk in with 5 Reapers, and they're like, "Wow, this is."
you
so
actually
stupid."
lose the game against that. If you,
Yeah, you do.
If you don't have
You-
your Mothership Core at home against 5 Reapers, you lose.
And
Yeah.
it's not too big of an investment for Terran, because if you scout with the first Reaper, okay, Oracles might come right now, so I should just make Marines now. But if you scout and you see there's no potential for Oracles, then you can just keep making Reapers and then just keep poking in and out. You can actually go 3 CC, 2 EV behind it, or you can do a huge 2 base attack behind it, or you can just play standard game. I think the Reaper isn't explored enough, actually, like just as a core, not as a core unit, like maybe a core early game unit. I think it needs to be used more.
Well, I mean, minimum, if you open 2 racks Reaper, I know as a Protoss, like, you actually have to commit to making like 3 or 4 Stalkers, and you have to keep your Mothership Core at home. So those are both annoying, but that's a lot of gas you're putting in to your Reapers for the early game. Do you guys ever use builds like that?
Yeah, but it's actually only one gas geyser compared to other races where if they want to do something like that, it's 2 gas geysers, so you're not mining as many minerals. So behind that, you're making Reapers that have a high production time. So during that production time, you can get up other buildings, and you can transition into anything you want pretty easily, and you're not behind in economy. Because it actually doesn't delay your CCs by that much.
Select, do you ever use builds like that? Like lots of Reapers against Protoss?
I tried it, but not sure. I'm not a big fan of going 3 Reaper or 5 Reaper. I always got whenever I try, I always got countered by like what was it, DT or like Oracle, like Illusion set. I prefer going fast eBay into fast upgrade with those gas.
By the way, this is also map dependent. You don't want to do this type of build on a map where Reapers can only jump in one place, right? It's like
It's a Star Station
Star
build.
Station, yeah, Star Station.
Yeah,
yeah.
Star Station.
Yeah, Star Station build.
I see.
Don't do it on Whirlwind.
No, probably not.
Don't do it on Whirlwind.
I actually do open up a Reaper on Whirlwind though, just because if they go Nexus first, you can just keep on kiting all day. So
That's,
yeah.
They'll make-
that's the only time I've won with Reaper on that map. I was trolling on stream. I just maxed Reapers, 4x Reaper, and I won because he went Nexus first.
Yeah.
It was just lucky though.
Wait, do you guys think that there's any map that's not good for a single Reaper opening against Protoss? Because if you do, I got news for you.
I think Whirlwind is pretty bad to open Reaper. You
But what
cannot
if they go
jump.
Nexus first, man? You can kill like 4 probes.
What if they don't go Nexus first?
Yeah,
Well, then you
that's
just
such
scout
a
their
nuke.
base and get out. It's normal. I don't
That's
know.
what- uh,
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing on that map. Yeah, it's probably not the best map for it, but I've just been doing that to deter Nexus first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think making the one Reaper like it's not like the optimal build for Whirlwind, but it's not like it's gonna put you miles behind, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt to just do it.
yeah.
Do you guys still use Reaper openings against Zerg very often? Because I've noticed a pretty distinct drop off on the normal Reaper openings, and in fact, I don't think I've seen like the proxy racks really fast Reaper almost at all recently against Zerg either.
It's
You guys
bad.
still like them?
Verser, I think on small maps is still good, but the proxy 888 thing, I don't think that was ever a good build because you saw, I think it was Maru, he did it versus Zerg, and he just failed miserably. He did everything correctly, he still failed. So I don't think that's a good build.
Yeah, it just kind of relies on them being a little bit too greedy, like gas and 3 drones into a pool or something. But yeah, I've definitely noticed a decrease in Reaper. I'm not sure if it's just because the flavor of the month is just Command Center first now, or if people have just been really good at defending it. But I really feel like it's good to mix in just because the Zerg can't really be greedy against it because they have to make like 20 Zerglings to hold off the Reaper Hellion squad. So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure why it's kind of fallen off.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird because I guess I don't see the Reapers actually get any kills. Like, if they kill more than
Yeah.
3 Zerglings with the standard 2 Reaper opening into Hellion, like before the Hellions are out, of course, I get surprised. I'm like, oh wow, you killed 5 Zerglings. I guess that's pretty good because everyone's so quick at making spores with their drones that just nothing dies anymore. But even that seems like it's okay. But it just like is this literally just like you said, Theon, like the flavor of the month has changed? So we're
Yeah, I
like,
think-
well,
Yeah, I think so because I didn't really notice that. Like I still think it's a pretty good build. It sets you up really nice for the mid game. You get a lot of scouting information, so you know if they're gonna all in. Yeah, like I don't see any major weaknesses to it. Like I don't know any holes in the build.
I think it's
Okay.
just Reaper opening is just safe build order to do against
Yeah.
Zerg because you get scouring ability. But the problem is when you go Reaper opening, your production building gets late. Like saying if you go first CC and if you don't go greedy build, you can add second and third racks really fast. But I feel like if I go Reaper, it's kinda late when I add my racks and I don't have enough unit. And if you make one mistake, like where you have 2 Reapers and you just look away, or you don't watch that game timer where Zerg hit their speedling at 6 minutes, and if there's no cliff, you can jump, you just lose and you're so much behind.
definitely. All right, I think we're going to jump to a quick little commercial break and then come back and talk about some more Terrans, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Pros always want to have gear that's exactly fitted to their needs.
Something I've always dreamed about doing is using my experience as a gamer to make gear for people like me.
We're working with TT Esports to make the exact mouse, keyboard, and headset that we've always wanted to use.
When you're doing anything that you love to do, the tools that you're using matter the most.
We're designing these products from scratch to make sure that your gaming experience is completely seamless. The gear I use to play the game
Are the tools I use to win.
Hey guys, welcome back. Quick little commercial break there so everyone could pee and whatnot. And now it's time to talk about some more Terran. We just covered quite a bit, some beautiful questions from Select there. And as soon as we went to commercial, they started talking about Hellbats, so I want to actually jump back into Hellbats a little bit here. Theognis, you were actually saying that you kind of agree with Select. You like Hellbats because of the multitasking. Why don't you talk about that for a moment?
Oh yeah, like in TVT, yeah, I was really against it I still probably am kind of against it, but I don't think it's totally insane. I think that, you know, if they do kind of tweak it a little bit, it'll be like a really fun matchup because I feel like whoever does have the better multitasking usually comes ahead in the trades. Yeah, there is some randomness and a lot of, you know, crazy things that can happen if you don't play perfectly, but I feel like if they do tweak it a little bit, it'll be a really nice matchup. I just hope they don't really over nerf it or anything like that. Because yeah, I do hope that Hellbat drops still have a place in the game.
Okay. And what you were saying about the multitasking, I do want to point out because, well, we can talk about how easy they're to do after, but when we saw Innovation and MVP both going for Hellbat drops, Innovation did eke out more SCVs over time. There's just that is the case, and the thing is, no one would argue that Innovation has better multitasking than MVP. So this is a reasonable argument, but are the Hellbat drops actually just too easy? Like, do you have enough skill in relation to your opponent to always be like, will Innovation always win in Hellbat drop versus Hellbat drop? Because he has the best multitasking, but will he always be able to do so?
It's timing. I think timing actually matters too. Like whoever drops first get ahead. I feel like it's always worse to be a defender in that situation because it's harder. Like you have to split your SCVs, but for dropper you don't need to split. You just have to drop on top of SCV. Like it's much more work to be a defender.
I think that's the problem that most Terrans have about it. Like, it's so much easier to execute than to defend. It's kind of like how people were talking about the Infestor and Celebrity, how it was so easy to just use it, but it was so hard to play against it. I think that's the main thing that people don't like about it. And I think if it gets nerfed, they'll still have a place in the TVT matchup. I just kind of miss in Wings Liberty how there was still back and forth action like most of the time in TVT, just like Banshees, Marine drop, Hellion drop, stuff like that. But now it's just Hellbat drop versus Hellbat drop, and it just gets kind of boring to play and watch. I think most people will agree with that.
Are you guys all using Hellbat drop like all the time in TVT?
Every game.
I'm personally not. But
Not
I'm
every
personally
game.
not. But I
been
think
doing
if you
every
want to
game.
win, either that or
Theognis wants to win,
blind
dude.
counter it. Blind counter with cloak bench and you win.
Yeah, I'm a try hard. I do it every game. I don't see any reason not to. Shit, I got the Hellbat syndrome, man. We talked about it the other time.
I like your style, Theognis. You're blind countering Roach Baneling by opening tanks in TVZ, and you're going Hellbat drops every game.
Yeah,
This
man.
kid is getting all the ladder points.
Yep.
Select,
Yeah.
how about you? Are you using Hellbat drops all the time, TVT? Select.
Huh?
Select there. Are you
Right.
using Hellbat drops all the time in TVT?
No, not every time. I use Banshees, Cloak Banshees sometimes, and I also do Widowmine drop into bio, or just passive Widowmine defensive play into bio. I do all the things because I'm still learning the game. Just looking, I was actually past week. I didn't use Hellbat at all. I was trying to find a way to defend Hellbat like clearly, and then go into bio because I love bio versus bio TBT, but I couldn't find the answer. So now I've been doing some Hellbats and Banshee opening. Yeah, I think that's the only two possible opening build in TBT right now.
Huh.
Yeah.
Sucks. Yeah.
I think if you do want to go bio, you kind of have to open a really aggressive build, like a gas first build.
Yeah, like
because,
Reaper.
yeah, Reaper or like a gas first build because the aggression from a gas first build gets there before like they can get Hellbat drops out, and you know they kind of have to react to that, like get a Viking first, so that delays the drops, and you know you can get tanks out and stuff by then. But it is still a really thin defense, so I feel like it's too much effort. I just Hellbat drop, so.
Now, you guys thought that Warp Prism Speed is going to give the other two races a harder time than Terran. Now, what about Hellbat drops? Because I think they actually give Terran the hardest time. Because if you look at, like, for instance, TVZ, like Sulky has shown us, if you check the gas timings just right, you can have your spores up in your spines, and you'll have a few roaches, and you're not going to really take any damage if you're really good at it. And of course, PVT, I mean, they can do a lot of damage, but they definitely can be stopped with Mothership Core and Stalkers and whatnot. So, do you guys think that Hellbat drops are the biggest problem in TVT or a different matchup?
I think TVT.
Yeah, TBT.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. At least you guys are acting.
Everyone hates Hellbats. You ask any race, what's the unit you hate the most? It's probably the Hellbat. Maybe Viper for some people that only go mech and love Hellbats, but everyone hates the Hellbat. And everyone loves Hellbat.
How do we fix this? Because David Kim was saying something like putting some of the damage on the Blue Flame upgrade. Is that reasonable? Is that something that could actually like fix this? If so, like how much do we do? Do you have other ideas?
I think that's really cool.
If they do that, I don't think anyone is going to use a Hellbat, because to upgrade you need tech rep, right?
Yeah.
But to make a Hellbat, you're gonna have reactor. So I'm not sure. Unless you're going mech, I don't think like people gonna use Hellbat drop anymore.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Theognis?
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about the biological tag about healing. I don't know, I was thinking why they wouldn't do that, and they would do this instead. And I think that they're trying to really push the Hellbat, like getting healed by Medevacs, just to kind of help late game TVP out. Like that's the only thing that makes sense in my head. So that's why I think they're kind of focusing more on the upgrade. But yeah, I'm not too sure about the upgrade. I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we think. Like, what do we do that's like the best way to make sure Hellbats aren't so strong without nerfing it to the ground? Because well, at first it didn't even require armory, right? You could just make it straight up.
Yeah.
And then they required armory, and then transformation required the tech lab upgrade, in which no one really gets anymore. So like I feel like if you move it to the Blue Flame, it's gonna end up like the transformation upgrade where no one just does it until later in the game. We might see a lot more Blue Flame Hellion, like regular Blue Flame Hellion, just coming out.
So yeah, no one used that translate upgrade, right? So why don't you make Hellbat and Hellions different unit, and then increase the mineral cost for Hellbat, like 150 or something? I think that would be cool.
What do you guys think about that? It's kind of an interesting idea.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard people again, adding gas to Hellbats too.
I think it's a cool idea too. But
yeah, I don't see anything totally wrong with it.
I think people still wouldn't make it because like right now most of the Terran builds are really like down to the mineral, right? Like everything's gonna be down to the last single mineral, and it's all lined up. So I'll have 200 minerals for 2 Hellbats from now. But if I invest 300 minerals into it, then I'll be lacking here and I'll lose to this. I think that would be the problem.
So what is the best way to fix this? Because I feel like all three of you guys want the Hellbat drop to still exist, but it's a problem especially against your own race. Like, I mean, these are... I think the mineral idea is pretty reasonable, but what else? Because even if they cost more minerals, right, if it goes up that much, like 50 minerals, let's say, I still think we're going to see Hellbat drops like constantly, because they're just going to, 100 more minerals. If you get two SCVs, that's paid for, right? Like it's still going to do the damage.
How about just have one Hellbat in the Medevac? Just decrease that, so they only drop one Hellbat.
It's a great idea.
Just
when the Medevac picks it up,
two Medevacs, man. That is so funny. Or maybe if it's one Hellbat, maybe have it carried like the Thor, like hanging underneath, so people know the Hellbat's coming as well.
Evacuate their probes even faster. Great.
Most people are having a problem in TVT at least. I think the problem is the Medevac and the Hellbat combination, not just the Hellbat. Because even though like Hellbats are pretty good, like you can kite them with good marine control, good hailing control, but once they're in that Medevac, they can drop on top, which isn't as big of a deal as coming in your mineral line and killing everything at 6 minutes. So I'm not sure, like, would you want to make it so it's not healable? Would you make it so it comes later, so that's making it more expensive, or a later tech choice? Or would you want the defense to be stronger? Like, would they really want to make the turret any stronger? Would that affect any other?
No.
That's what I'm thinking. It's really strong right now already. so I can't
Yeah.
see a turret.
The war prism, man. The war prism. We need the turret buff. I think that would actually help.
So there needs to be a turret buff. This is how we fix Hellbats
Yeah.
is by giving Terran a turret buff.
Yeah, man.
Wait, would making Hellbats mechanical be that bad or armored? Because like right now, what I really don't like about Hellbat is how my Marauders are essentially like useless. It's like fighting a Zealot versus Hellbat. Like usually you can kill Hellions really easily, but with Marauders, but now with Hellbats, it's like 45 more HP. That's 5 more extra shots from a Marauder.
Well, making it armored, actually. Let's think about that for a second, right? Because the problem there might be that Hellbats can't kill Hellbats. Because a lot of the defense that we've seen against Hellbat drops has been Hellbats sitting in the mineral line, right? Like, I saw that so much MVP versus Innovation. Then what do you do? Because then the Hellbats all just sit there and, like, before they die, the command center is going to explode from the splash damage.
Yeah, I guess it's not ideal to have, like, tanks to defend Hellbats, right? Because then the guy with the Hellbats has map control because you're going tanks. So, and you don't really want to have like 4 Marauders to deal with 2 Hellbats because they can just lift off and run away. I don't know. I don't think the armored or armored tag would be the best solution, but I'm just like throwing ideas out there. Like, what can we change?
Yeah. Oh, I like the idea. We just need to bring Scourge back, man. Just give Scourge to every race. This is how we fix these things. Any other ideas how to fix this Hellbat thing? Because I feel like they're just going to throw damage of it, some amount of damage onto the blue flame.
Yeah.
Would it be okay to, like,
the best.
if that were to happen, how much damage do you throw onto the blue flame upgrade?
Maybe to where it is right now. Like Hellbat to where it is right now, like the standard Hellbat right now would be the blue flame upgrade.
Yeah, no,
So,
I mean, like, how much
Like
damage
30?
are we going to take off so that if you want to do a Hellbat drop without...
Take off.
Probably so it can't 2-shot a worker. Maybe.
Yeah, so like a 3-shot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah, 3-shot. And then when you get
So
the
like-
upgrade, then you 2-shot. Something like that.
We should make it so it's 3-shot versus every other worker, like it is for regular Hellions, and then 4 for SCVs.
I'm
That would
sure
make it so
there
I
has to be a
wouldn't
number
take-
that works at, right? Like, so
It would just
4
do the
shots-
same
Nine,
damage as the
yes.
Hellion, I think.
the
Well,
same
I guess
damage.
I guess if they do that, then there would be no point in doing that because why would you make a Hellbat when the Hellion and Hellbat do the same damage?
Yeah, you wouldn't want
I think that's why they don't want to do that. Now that I think about it, because what's the point of 2 different units if they do the same exact damage, and one's just better with blue flame, right?
So, how many shots does a Hellion take to kill an SCV?
4.
4 shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd have to make it 3-shot then, or it would be. I guess they have more hit points and they can tank, but then they don't have the damage or the speed. So, yeah, I think it would have to be.
Well, they have a
3
different
shot.
splash radius. you
That's
know.
true. Yeah.
It's like conical instead of a line.
Choosing. I thought you said comical. I'm like, yeah,
no.
I guess it's
Comical.
really funny. But that would be kind of weird if you were actually choosing which unit based upon the shape of its splash damage because they're that close. That seems like a little bit overkill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what happened if they nerfed it too much. I think that's why they were doing it really slowly because, like, I think everyone's throwing out options, but they haven't thought around it. Because I didn't think about the fact that they just be the same unit with one has more mobility and one has more tankiness. You know.
Yeah. Well, I guess if that were the case, how about this? Okay, I had this idea a couple minutes ago. So if you put a bunch of their damage on the blue flame upgrade, what if once you had an armor, you could transform Hellions directly into Hellbats without an upgrade? Because then you could still have them ready for your drop while getting the blue flame upgrade. You know what I mean?
I think
So
then
makes
Hellbats would just come faster, and just because they come so much faster, that
Yeah, I
would
guess
still be
so.
a problem. I can't imagine
Or-
the worlds I could play beta all the time when they didn't require an armory. Damn.
You should have seen with this unit called the Warhound, man. You probably did.
Oh,
You
I
probably
did. I
made-
won a tournament with that. Beta tournament.
You're so
Like-
dirty.
If they
The first game I played was like 4 days into the beta, and someone made Warhounds, and I was just like, why are you even making this? You know this isn't staying. This is so gross. But anyways, go ahead, Select. What were you saying?
if they put the upgrade on the reactor, then I think it's possible. You know what I'm saying? Blue flame upgrade on reactor.
Yeah.
I think it'd be so weird
Instead
to
of
do
pack
that
rat.
though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
then
it
people would be
is.
like, why is that one upgrade on the one building that no other upgrade is on that building? Just that one.
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
maybe an eBay. I don't know, but then it'd be weird because like, why do you have a factory unit upgrade on the eBay? I don't know. It's really like questionable
Yeah.
how they want to do this.
Okay, let's theorize for a moment. What if we just removed Hellbat from the game? Would that make TBT better or worse right now?
Better. It'd be just like Wings of Liberty, I think, though, just with Reapers different and Widow
And
Mines.
Medevac boost and stuff. So.
I personally wouldn't mind just playing without Hellbats. Like, just going back to old Wings of Liberty hyper-aggressive style with Marines. Well, you got Widow Mines too now. Like, there's options outside of Hellbats that also make the game back and forth. Yeah, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
No Hellbats, TBT Theognis, what does that do? Does it make you happy or sad?
It'd make me sad for a little bit, you know, I would go in like Hellbat withdrawal, but you know, after I got past that phase, I think, yeah, it would still be a fun matchup because, you know, like Flash against Innovation at MLG, that was like one of the best TBTs that we've seen in Hardest Form, and you know, there was no Hellbats involved there, so it would still be a really nice matchup. I hope they don't totally do that. I'm not sure how Mech would, you know, fare against all of that if there were no Hellbats. It'd be a little bit weird. So
that would make me very sad. I don't want them to take out the Hellbat like that. That would be really sad. But what do you think, Slack? Better or worse TBT with no Hellbats?
I think it's gonna be better without Hellbat. It's gonna be more fun to watch the TBT. But I like Hellbat.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think every Terran likes it, but for me personally, it's like I hate playing Versa more than I love using it, so I'd rather just have it out. But that's just me, because like, just the feeling of like you're not looking for a second and you lose everything. That you're playing Terran, you already know what it feels like from every other like race and every other build. Like, oh, I wasn't looking, I got stormed. Oh, I wasn't looking, I got Colossus. Oh, I wasn't looking, Hellbats killed my mineral. Like, I want to get rid of that factor of like unforgiving. You know, the Medevac thing we talked about earlier with the boost, that added more forgiveness for Terran to screw up, but you can't really do that. Save your SCVs with the Medevac boost. I just hate that one factor.
I like Hellbat against other races. It's because like back in Rings of Liberty, when you drop, like all the Terran units are range units, so you need to micro. Otherwise, you're gonna lose the melee units, right? It's so much easier to micro melee unit. So let's say you are like dropping 3 places. It's really hard to micro all the 3 places. But Hellbat, they are melee, and when you drop like multiple places, you don't need to micro much. You just need to press hold H key.
Yeah.
So it makes like it's like paying them payback. Like that's how we felt in Wings of Liberty. So you should feel it now. So like you need to put your effort to defend Hellbat. I think it's pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's why Terrans like it too. Yeah, like I said, like in Wings of Liberty, Terran was really unforgiving. Like that one, like few seconds of not looking and you're really behind. I think Terrans just enjoy the feeling of doing that to other races now that it's a possibility. But I think Widow Mines also are kind of like that, but Hellbats are definitely faster.
All right, so back to that upgrade thing. What if we put the upgrade on the armory? You know, just upgrade the blue flame off that.
That's good
Look
idea.
at that.
I was thinking
And you
about
could
that
still
too.
have it on the reactor.
I was thinking about
Anyway, you
that
need
too, but then
armory
I
to make Hellbat.
was like the eBay, you know, like Tech Labs are for the unit specific upgrades. I feel like it'd just be weird of Blizzard to just put that unit specific upgrade on like upgrades for weapons and armor and stuff. I don't know how picky Blizzard is about that, but I think it'd just be weird to have like that one upgrade on that one building when it
But I think
belongs
it's
here.
smart because anyway you need armory to make Hellbat, so it's like, you know.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I think it'd just be something that Blizzard wouldn't do just because of game design. Like Tech Labs are for this, but then except for the army's for this too. I think it'd just be weird of them to start doing something like that.
Yeah, they don't
Almost
want
like-
too many exceptions.
Yeah.
That'd be a little bit weird. So.
Well, it would go in line with the Hellbat, which is just full of weird exceptions already, right? So that's, I guess that's in the flavor of the Hellbat and how many rules it's broken. But I actually kind of like that idea. Like, how much would it have to cost though, the Blue Flame upgrade, to make TVT a little bit more reasonable? Because what if, I mean, what I'm seeing is if it's on the armory, that seems reasonable to me. I guess it slows it down, the drop, a little bit, right? Because how long does Blue Flame take? Or I guess they could adjust the time on that anyways, right? So that's not the biggest question. But if both people go for it, that just means there's less defense against it, and everyone's just going to lose their SCVs because you spent that extra money on that? Or am I just totally wrong here?
100, I guess. Would be good.
I'm also thinking about
Or
one thing.
125.
What if the Terran wants to just go Blue Flame Hellions regularly? Now they have to make an armory just to get the Blue Flame.
Oh, that's true.
Instead of the Tech Lab. That would also be like a game-changing thing. Like, I don't know. I think like having it on that armory would be beneficial for me, like, because I wanted to come later, but I'm just thinking about everything else. Like, Blue Flame affects Hellions as well. But right now, it doesn't affect Hellbats at all. We're assuming that in the next patch or whenever, in this patch or whatever we're talking about, that damage is reduced and Blue Flame Hellions can increase it, right? Would they have like 2 different upgrades, or I don't know, because they don't want to make it on the Tech Lab only.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, it's too hard.
And here's the real question too. If you get Blue Flame upgrade and you have to get that for your Hellbats now, is it gonna look like they're spraying a water gun all over the SCVs? That could be an issue. I don't
think so. Remember when Blue Flame didn't even have actually no, I guess Blue Flame didn't have the Blue Flame icon on the upgrade. Yeah. It used to be red, not the flame. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just the blue fire. Maybe it would probably just look like water.
Yeah. So I'm like, why is he watering the SCVs? Why are they dying? Oh, I'm a new player. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll go play League of Legends. Oh. All right. Do we have any closing thoughts on Hellbats? Anything else to be said about the subject?
Why are they
David
hellbent
Kim's
on
job
just
is really hard.
Yeah.
David Kim's job is really, really hard.
It's a hard job, man.
It's hard.
Damn.
I don't blame him for not having a Twitter, because he would get flamed so much. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's something that whatever you do, you get flamed.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
true.
even like we
really-
spent like the past 30 minutes trying to think about the one freaking upgrade, and we've had like 10 different ideas and 20 different things that are wrong with all the ideas. Like,
Yeah.
must be so hard.
It is, and I mean, this is the most complex thing in the whole world, man. Like, you change the thing is, any of this can change the other matchups too, and it's like all the balance of every matchup is on like a knife's edge, you know. It's actually kind of crazy. So props to David Kim for his balancing prowess, and good luck to him on whatever the hell he's about to do to the Hellbat. Oh my God. All right, I want to actually go over one more quick thing, because I actually forgot to write it in the show notes for you guys to see ahead of time, but I did this with the Zerg guys, and I thought it was just kind of like a fun little question. Terran maps. What makes a Terran map? What is each of your favorite maps of all time for Terran? And what makes a Terran map, basically? So let's start. What is your favorite map of all time in StarCraft 2? What map are you like, whoa, yeah, this is the map that I'm always picking because this is so Terran favored?
Steps of War? I think that's a pretty good Terran map.
Yeah,
it's really good.
No.
I actually didn't like that map. I actually played Zerg back then, so I can't really say.
Oh, yeah. The
We'll
12
see.
drone rush was really hard.
I always did that. I got free wins.
Yeah,
so I
that
was like,
shit
oh, you can see that I had free wins on that map all day.
Yeah, that
I
shit
did
was
Hate Pro's double gas steal on that map. That was the sickest, but
I still don't know the map name, but I like the map that has airspace behind the base, so you can fly around with Medevac. So it makes more easier Terran to drop, and like long distance between their bases is good for Terran, I think.
You like?
You like long distances.
What was that space map?
Huh?
the
Space
Atlantis
map
spaceship?
in season 1 of
Like
season
Sakura
Scrap
Scatter?
Station.
no Scrap Station.
Oh God.
Back then, it was considered
it's
a
a
map,
long distance by ground, right? And then really quick airspace.
Yeah.
That is true. Don't even bring up Scrap Station. Oh my God. So is that your favorite map?
No.
For Terran?
I don't know. I was one of the Terrans that actually liked the bigger maps in the Wings of Liberty. Like
That's
I
funny.
I loved playing on Daybreak when it first came out. I loved playing on Whirlwind. I was like so sad when I had to put. Actually, I liked most of the maps except for Cloud Kingdom. Like that was the one map I hated with a passion.
Okay, Theognis, you like Steps of War, but do you like the small maps or the big maps? Because it seems like Select and Illusion are kind of big map Terrans.
No, I can see what they mean with the big maps. It just kind of depends on what uh what race you're playing. Against Protoss, I actually like a bigger map just because of the drops, and also you can see they're all incoming. On the small maps, it's really hard to defend because they can just come at you really fast. But against Zerg, I would kind of want like a smaller map. Probably Antigua is probably like the biggest Terran map of
Oh yeah,
Liberty.
that was actually a good map.
Yeah, that was.
Now I'm thinking about Lost Temple was actually a map where I had a lot of fun games on. Like I actually really like the map.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You like
Like-
dropping Thors on people's ledges? Yeah, that was
No,
pretty fun.
I was very changed my mind. The one after Shadow Temple, I think that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's such a Terran. I like that map because like it wasn't too big. It wasn't like super small. There's cross map. You can split the
bases.
map. It can split the map, but it wasn't like split map where you can't attack him at all. There was always a way to get in, and like it reminds me of like the Raven, PDD, Medevac Doom Drop stuff that used to happen on Daybreak as well, but like happened on Shadow Temple a lot. There was nuke pushes to kill the turret lines. What else? I don't know. There was a lot of fun things that happened on that map. I think the majority of StarCraft 2, like the good maps or the good games, came from maps of that season.
Yeah.
Antigua, Shadow Temple, those Shikuris. I think Shikuris is my favorite map. Now that I think about it.
Oh yeah, Shikuris is pretty sick.
I had a thick one read on that map. I loved it.
So, what does make a Terran map then? Because is it really race specific? Because with Zerg, like literally at the end of the conversation, everyone kind of agreed it's like a big open map with no terrain, just a flat map with like a bunch of bases. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I see why that's good for Zerg. What is that map for Terran? Like, if you can make a map that Protoss and Zerg will veto every game, what
Okay.
map is that?
Okay, I'm just kind of my thinking is around Shikuris Plateau, where there's a lot of places to be aggressive, whether it's dropping or chokes in like the middle of the map. You can poke there, drop the top side of the map, drop the main base. You can get out and come back. There's always space to just chill there and get out, or just chill there and then come back in. Like it's not like where Ohana, where in the corner of the map in their main base, like you could get stuck there and you can't come out. Like you want to come out after you do some harass.
Yeah.
I actually
Anything
think
else?
I think I found my new favorite map for Terran. I think it's Xeris Prime. It was in the last season because there's all this airspace all around the bases, but you expand in the line, so it's really easy to defend everything. I checked my stats and I had like a 90% win rate on that just because there's like you can fly around everywhere with drops. Like, they're never gonna take a third just because you can pressure everywhere, unlike what
Yeah.
he said. But it's not too enclosed, so you can do a lot of flanks against Protoss in the center. So probably
Okay.
Xeris Prime.
Okay. Select, what about you, man? What is the perfect Terran map?
I feel like flat map is not any problem anymore because we got Widow Mines now. Because like I said before, you can always get out, and Widow Mine is really cheap. You can just throw one good shot, and save your Medevacs. That's fine. So as long as you split your Widow Mines like correctly, you will always get ahead on trading units. And the map, I don't even know the map name. Wait, let me see. Best Terran map, is that right?
Yeah,
I like-
what is
I like-
what is
I like
perfect?
Newkirk.
Okay.
This new season map.
Do you like? Oh, okay. The new version of Newkirk. I'm gonna have to try that. I haven't actually seen the new one yet.
Oh,
Because
you
the
think
old
you
one,
will?
man,
Oh.
I don't
Yeah,
know
the old
how
one,
I
I
would
hated.
ever. I would have to like figure out the worst thing I could possibly lose to a Terran on that map, man. That was such an easy one.
Yes,
Okay,
because,
so
yeah,
yeah.
on Newkirk you can drop easy and you can take base easy, and it makes hard for Zerg or Protoss to harass your bases because it's so easy to reinforce Yeah.
Yeah. So the perfect, like in a perfect world, if you guys could rig a map maker to make you the perfect map, it would have something to do with far enough away from Protoss, but close enough to Zerg, with a lot of airspace to fly around on the back, and your bases in a line.
Yeah.
Basically, like
Yeah.
being able to get away with drops all the time, defend
While being
easily.
greedy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While
And be
being greedy.
aggressive. And be aggressive.
And be
While
aggressive.
getting flanked everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Terrans are the greediest humans, man. All the Zergs want is something flat and open. You guys have like 9 different things that you need. You're like, well, it needs to be close but far. Also, we need to be able to be greedy while being aggressive and defensive, and the Medevac should always get away.
Zergs think like that too, but they're just thinking about the terrain too much. Like
Yeah.
you ask them again, they'll think, oh yeah, I want my Mutalisk to get out once I get in their base.
Yeah,
Guess
it's weird
I
with
suppose
Terran because against Zerg you want kind of close terrain so they can't flank you. You know, a lot of like cliffs and stuff like that. But against Protoss, you kind of want it the opposite. You want it kind of open so you can get that arc against Death Ball.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of torn
Ultimately,
on
you want
that.
them in the choke.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a very interesting episode. I have certainly learned a lot inside of your 3 Terran minds. You guys have anything else that you want to bring up about Terran before we do our shout-outs and whatnot?
Oh, I like Terran.
You like
Please
Terran?
leave the Hellbat like this. I just started making Hellbats. I'm having fun right now. Please leave it like this, at least for a month. Yeah, I want to have some fun.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that Hellbat how it is. I think all the Terrans should just have like a truce not to make it against each other. So don't make any
Oh yeah,
Hellbats.
if that happened, then yeah. But
Yeah.
I think they're
That
all
is some
complaining
backdoor
about
stuff right there.
Yeah.
how Hellbats are so annoying in TBT. But
Yeah, keep it strong
we all
against
see
Zerg
the
Protoss.
unit versus Protoss and Zerg. We just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's so selfish. You guys are so greedy. You want everything. All right. I think it's time for some shout-outs. Theognis, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Also, thanks for Root Gaming, all the sponsors, DOS Keyboard, Twitch, AverMedia, MyGamer.info, and follow me on Twitter, at RootTheognis with 1 T.
So that's Root Heognis.
Yeah, RootTheognis.
All right. Illusion, your shout-outs.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This was a pretty fun show. This was, I guess I could say it's pretty recent, but it's been a few weeks. Team Sports, we picked up Lucifer and Vortex. So we'll be dominating team leagues in no time, so watch out for us. Thanks to our sponsors from All Sports at BenQ, Gil, Razor, and Thortec. And follow me on Twitter at Mousevision.
Sick. And Select,
Yeah.
your shout-outs.
Thanks for having me, and I want to shout out to my fans. I'm here because of you guys, because you guys welcome and etc. I'll try my best. And thanks for the sponsor, GameHold. Thank you.
Sick. And for me, thanks you guys for coming on. This has been a very fun all-Terran episode. A lot of interesting opinions I wasn't actually expecting. You guys were not whiny little Terrans like many people may have expected come in. Whenever I do like one of these shows with the Lotto One race, they're like, it's a wine fest for that race, but it definitely was not this time. So good work on that. Props to my sponsors, TT Sports and iBuyPower. They're awesome. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out, of course, to Simpatico. Simpatico TV is his Twitter. He does all the production and makes the funny intros and all, and does an absolutely great job. So give him some love. He definitely deserves it. And of course, Matt Leontis, the guy who makes all the music for the show. So cheers to them, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.